Alright everyone, welcome back again to some more of Witch on the Holy Night. I've already been playing this game for a good what? An hour and a half or two now? Which goes to show how much I'm enjoying this game a lot. So if anything else guys, I hope you all continue to enjoy. Thank you all for your love and support. Let's continue on. Alright everyone, welcome back. It was still operational. And it was still armed with curses. It had crawled after her, watching as Aoko desperately tried to save herself. The puppet's arm shot forward. While Aoko did not turn to meet it, she could see its reflection in the mirrors.
E salvato, e salvato, e salvato, e salvato.
Extend, extend, extend. This time, she could not dodge it. There was absolutely nothing she could do. The puppet with her face sang.
Venit domum meum, lut sime somnium, et pulvere simile quotidianum, cor prego, te judico.
How about no thank you? For a moment, she could not believe her eyes. This was the last thing she expected to see.
しつこいぞ、お前。
A fierce expression adorned the face of the boy who had been waiting in the plaza as he smashed the puppet's outstretched arm. Anger really did not suit him at all. His weapon of choice was a fire extinguisher. He must have searched the maze for something to use as a weapon. No, never mind that. It was too crazy to contemplate, but had he stayed behind for her? Aoko stopped the feat she had sworn to herself she would never stop moving and extended a hand out to him. Sojiro tossed the fire extinguisher aside and took off running. Hurry up! Everything's collapsing. Pieces of ceiling continued to collapse like dominoes. They kept moving with dust and dirt following in their wake. Their shadows raced through the collapsing corridor with all their strength. The castle was in the throes of death. With a massive crash and a cloud of dust, the final chapter of the fairy tale that had been Kitsy Land came to an abrupt end. This duel to the death was over. For a moment, amidst their swirling emotions, all past enmity was left behind and the two collapsed on the lawn and basked in the strange solidarity. The ringing in their ears subsided before long. A tremor of such magnitude seemed impossible in an amusement park like this. As the sounds of destruction echoed across the park, Aoko addressed the individual at her side.
ねえ、生きてる？
うん。
While the click of her tongue was adorable, the meaning behind it was anything but.
青崎、あいつどうなった？
見ての通りよ。今頃バラバラ死体になってるんじゃない？
Sojiro sighed, not wholly relieved by her frank response. His reason.
でも、そんな心配より自分の心配をした方がいいと思うわよ、しずきくん。
He wasn't out of the woods yet, after all.
青崎、子供の頃はいじめっ子だっただろ。
That was actually a spot-on comment, because that's pretty much what it seems like.
可逆趣味はないって自負してるけど。それで、今の自分の立場、わかってる？
She sat up and smiled. Sojiro hung his head in shame, wondering why her kind tone and expression were so chilling.
面目次第もございません。
かしこまってもダメよ。あの提案には大前提があったわよね。これは取引だって。あなたが役に立つのなら見逃してあげるっていう。
わかってる。 だから面目ないって言ってるだろ。
Sojiro made a show of avoiding her eyes. Like a pouting child. Aoko was taken aback by his sulky display. Perhaps he was angry at himself rather than her. He was not mad because she would not let him go. He was mad that he had not done his part. Aoko sighed for what seemed like the millionth time that day. She could not figure out what surprised her more, his unconditional kindness or her naive approval of it.
じゃあ覚悟はできてるの？
そんなのはできないけど、約束だからな。結局は何もしていないし。
It was certainly the case that he failed to do any of the things she had expected of him. But just then, she glanced back at the collapsed house of mirrors. What had he done after failing so spectacularly? He had searched for the extinguisher so he could use it as a weapon, and waited patiently in the plaza as the maze collapsed all around him because he thought it was wrong of him to leave alone. It was a foolish choice, and the exact opposite of her choice to run towards the exit without hesitation.
ま、それでよしとするか。
She was satisfied even as she was shocked at how naive she was being. It was true that he had saved her. She smiled inwardly, admiring, if only for a moment, the bravery he continued to show in the face of such extreme circumstances.
役割は果たさなかったけど、アフターケアは合格だし、約束は守らなくちゃね。
With a nod, she pulled herself to her feet.
約束は、いつか守ってもらうとして。
That is a genuine smile coming from her, guys. This is rare. The girl tried to keep a straight face as she offered a hand to the boy still lying on the ground.
結果はどうあれ手助けしてもらったし、特別サービスってことで、今夜はもう手を出さないであげる。
は？
She bashfully averted her gaze. Though her profile appeared different than it had in the past, it was clearly still the face of the vibrant girl he met the day he first arrived in town.
何を？
As if she had felt his eyes on her, she shot him a frowning glare.
いや、突拍子もないけど、青崎は律儀だなって。
He took her outstretched hand. Feeling his weight as she pulled him up, she could not help but think that he was about the last person she wanted to hear that from.
ところで、今夜はって言うけど、明日からは？
さあ、その時になったら考えるわ。
Well, that's not a comforting thought. She shrugged her shoulders as if she was not sure herself. The response was so unlike her that it made Sojiro smile. Was it the solidarity of having escaped death together, or their fleeting camaraderie that made him do so? It might have been for this night only, but the air between them was kind and gentle. A lot had transpired, but the midwinter nightmare had come to an end. The pair had overcome many trials and tribulations and could now leave the mirror realm in their wake. But before that,
随分と身勝手ね。それはあなた一人で決めていいことだったかしら、青子。
oh, right. I forgot about her. It reminds me of one of those times when you're playing an RPG and you beat the final boss, but then you find out that isn't the final boss. This is one of those times. It was the voice of a beautiful singing bird and a merciless machine all rolled into one.
アリス。
Her voice quivered as she spoke the name. The lady in black made her presence known. The night was not yet over. Her name was Alice Kuonji. She was a witch whose name struck her fear into the heart of Aoko, an avatar of the night who would allow no witnesses. Adventure at the House. Night of the Witches Part 2. Alright, we better save this. And here I thought we got out safe and sound. Now we gotta deal with Alice. The melody stirred an emotion like nostalgia within them. Something once familiar but now lost to this world. They believed beyond the shadow of a doubt that it would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda. It was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. The night shook. A song was spun. Now their lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams. Forsaken idols. They all responded to the cry of the blue cat. The name of that bell was Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night. All fables made possible, all marvels made real, by the magecraft of Alice Kuonji, more magical than magic itself. Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a black bird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as if she were preening.
Alice.
There was tension in Aoko's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from a moment prior had long since been shooed away by Alice's gaze.
あの子、確か。
Sojiro searched his hazy memory. He could not clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he had seen her around town a number of times. Where and when eluded him. However, as the tension in the air kept him from connecting all the dots.
驚いた。随分と仲間思いになったのね、アリス。今夜は私に任せるんじゃなかったっけ？
Aoko readied her guard and took half a step forward. Unconsciously, from an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her. Alice's silence grew ever heavier. Her eyes, fixed on the ground below her, were devoid of emotion. An indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid claim over the plaza.
金?
If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ringing of a bell echoing in the distance. The rippling sound wave seemed unbelievably to be emanating from under the ground.
なあ、青崎。あの子。
黙ってて。
Sojiro stepped back, trying to stay out of the way. It was as though he had been told to go to hell. For the crime of asking if the girl was Aoko's friend.
そうね。仲間思いに当てはまるかは微妙だけど、良くない予感がしたから様子を見に来ただけ。別にあなたの仕事を疑ったわけじゃないわ。
それはどうも。どうせならもう少し早くその良くない予感とやらに気づいてほしかったけど。でもま、ご覧の通り自己解決したわ。夜も遅いし、さっさと帰っていいわよ、アリス。私の仕事っぷりを疑うわけじゃないんでしょ？
Their eyes locked on one another. Alice's stare was uncomfortably cold. Aoko's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
いえ、気が変わったわ。せっかくだし二人で帰りましょう。その方があなたらしいわ。帰りしな、人形の話でも聞かせてちょうだい。
はっ、らしいって何よ、らしいって。いいから帰れ帰れ、ぐうたらアリス。部屋に閉じこもって役に立たないムクドリでも作ってろっての。
A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seemed that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
青子、口にしたくないけど、本気？
Quietly, Alice questioned her roommate of nearly 2 years.
呆れた。二人で秘密を守ると言ったのに。まだ半端にそっち側なの？それとも情でも移った？
別に情っていうより私の気分よ。だいたい方針なんてその場その場で変わるもんでしょ。気分ならなおさらよ。そっちこそ一度した約束は絶対守るなんて時代遅れなんじゃない？
The proverbial knives were out now. No quarter was given, no quarter taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of convenience and had not reached the level of mutual understanding. Their version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict of opinion arose, each would refuse to budge until the other crumbled. Neither was concerned for the other's plight, and at least for now, that was how they liked it.
そうね。今の暴言はあなたらしいとは思うけど。
Once again, she let out a sigh, even larger than the one before.
言い争いは後にしましょう。そこの彼をいなかったことにするのは私だけで十分だし。
Finally, she struck straight to the point. As if making to move a chess piece, Alice lifted her slender finger. Even this simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro, the same boy who had been hunted by his classmate Aoko Aozaki and borne witness to an automaton. Aoko's violence, an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised as he had been, there was no need to think of them as total mysteries. However, when the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no word for it besides mysterious. Sojiro stood motionless, captivated by this stage performer's magic trick, as the girl's single-finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. A blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
やば。
Aoko immediately regretted her reflexive shot.
どういうこと？約束を曲げただけじゃなく、ルールまで破るつもり？
The already chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Alice looked calm and collected on the outside, but in reality she was sometimes even more hot-blooded than Aoko, especially when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally destroying one often would result in a week of silent treatment, but maliciously destroying one, Alice would reserve the right to retaliate without fair warning.
あっちゃー。いつかやるとは思ったけど、ついに逆鱗に触れちゃったか。
Though Aoko was shocked at the depth of her own stupidity, she also was in fact a little bit relieved. She did not intend to make any excuses and she had no regrets. If she had broken the rules, then so had Alice.
青子。
なんていうか。
If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Aoko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Aoko to regret, it was putting too little power into her shot.
私的に今夜こいつに死なれるのは困るのよ。なんで日を改めて殺しに来てくれないアリス。いいでしょ、たった1日ぐらい。
Taking on a pro bono case in the defense of Suspect S was the socially acceptable thing.
それは市場？
悪い？一宿一般の恩義って割と大事にしてるの、私。
私との協定より。
ええ、時と場合によっては。
Sojiro's human rights had not yet entered the argument. The girls were busy pouring oil on each other's flames. The girl clad in black was the first to move or rather to erupt.
そう。よくわかったわ、青子。私は彼をここで殺す。あなたは彼をここだけ生かす。つまり、私と戦う。ということでいい？
んなのいいわけないじゃない。
Aoko bit back to retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft, and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. The odds of victory were essentially non-existent, and once the first shot had been fired, Alice Kuonji was without mercy. Whether facing a roommate or a friend, a most beloved family member or a stranger, once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Aoko advanced another half step forward as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities, but everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Aoko had no room for compromise or deception.
もちろんあんたを殺すことになってもそこのバカは生かしきるわ。それに
Her magic circuits howled as they kicked into gear. Her body, which had mostly been dormant during the battle with the puppet, ignited, preparing to demonstrate its true worth.
それにどのみち最後には殺し合う仲でしょ私たち。
Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Tuning her body, her magic circuits to become like a barrel of a gun, Aoko fired a magic bullet. It was an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature interference, no creating of wind, parting of water, or hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary action known as magical energy into something real before releasing it as heat. Thus, Aoko's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. The magic bullets she had used against Sojiro were amongst the most basic single-action magecraft that did not require an incantation. At her present ability, Aoko's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at 3 levels of power. These were at the 2nd level. This required a double-action magecraft, a casting through activation of her crest combined with a simplified incantation. However, without blinking, Alice dispersed the shot that Aoko had mustered all of her spirit to fire. Aoko tutted in frustration. A swift sneak attack magecraft that used a simplified incantation would not be enough to break Alice's guard.
相変わらずお堅いこと。そのから一段と独りよがりになってるんじゃない？
Aoko provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. Somehow, Alice seemed delighted by Aoko's bravado.
売り言葉に買い言葉というやつね。こういう勢いだけのきっかけは初めてだけど驚いたわ。こんなくだらない理由でもその気になるものなのね、人間って。
Alice giggled. Smiling with heartfelt amazement, Alice gestured her left hand toward the earth. So her magical theme is kitchen utensils. Countless utensils shot out from underneath the cobblestones paving the plaza.
しずきくん、後ろに飛んで。
She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backward before he even had a chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils that had suddenly appeared from the ground gave chase. As the barrier of spears grew around them, Aoko and Sojiro put some distance between themselves and the clock tower.
これで終わり？
Just under 30 feet stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled the stone beneath them fell short of what Aoko had anticipated. They now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look like a burning of a witch at the stake.
普通逆じゃない？ここは私たちを逃がさないよう槍で周りを囲むものでしょ。
The path behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could try to make a break for the main gate and escape.
いいのアリス。悪いけど逃げられるなら逃げるわよ。私。
If she could just make it back to town, it would be Aoko's win. All she wanted to do was let Sojiro get away for the night, so if she could get him back to the city, it would be for the most part mission accomplished.
Huh?
Or she had thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled out a bottle from her pocket.
緑のフラスコ？あれって確か。やば！とにかくファイヤー！
Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Aoko's earlier bravado. It was only natural. Aoko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well, and she'd more or less gotten a grasp of her roommate's tendencies and abilities. This had made her conceited enough to believe that under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight. Alice uncorked the magical bottle. A gentle breeze caressed her cheek. Diddle Diddle fled as a new player stepped onto the stage. But from where would it enter? The sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade approached. She did all that? Holy cow. Unfortunately, it was true. This was a miracle that Aoko Aozaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. The dead came to life. The inanimate awakened. The woods were enveloped by the mists. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice Koonji's slender fingers had transfigured the entirety of the park, as if gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう、青子。
For one night, the wasteland of the dashed hopes and dreams was restored to its former glory. It was an immortal monster ready to devour reality. A dark fairy tale that, once unleashed, would never let its prey escape.
逃げられるものなら逃げてみせて。どこまで行けるかわからないけど、この夜を越えることができたのなら、あなたの勝ちにしてあげる。
Her declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The witch in black laughed at her friend. Her musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. Faded glory returned to Kitsyland. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, whirled round and round. All in all, it made for a mind-bending spectacle. It was certainly possible to power the facilities by transmuting magical energy into electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the park with electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, but by melting down divine providence into a witch's brew.
まずいわね。アリスのプロイは何個か見てきたけど、今回のは桁が違う。セット。
Stifling her anxiety, Aoko fired up the crest on her right arm. Alright guys, I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're gonna continue on with a new battle now happening between Aoko and Alice.